Hey guys, it's Drew back with Drew Does Trucks. Today we're going to be working on these brand new garage doors I installed need an opener. So as you can see, we got their torsion springs installed on one side. This side I haven't yet, kind of waiting to see how this goes. I've never installed one of these before. We were going to use these. I have some belt drive and chain drive openers that I picked up for free, but it's trying to be cheap. This garage style, in order to preserve our overhead room, I worked really hard on this track design. There's actually a separate video I made about kind of putting those doors up, but as you can see, there's nothing above them. So if we want to use like a gantry crane or a lift in the future, we're preserving that vertical headroom. Or if you have like storage space, if you live in a small garage, you want to store stuff over your car, you can't do that with a regular opener. So those are all reasons to get a wall-mounted opener. I looked at all the options on the market. This is what I could find locally. These are $530 each at Home Depot. This is the Chamberlain. This particular model is the RJ070. It is the quietest. These are claimed to be direct drive, space-saving battery backup. They come with my Q, which you can use your, as I show you there, your phone for all the statuses. So I picked up 2 of these at Home Depot. I had to drive an hour to find them. My local Home Depots didn't sell them. Had to go to like a fancy guy. It's more fancy people with more money, I guess. But this is what you're going to get when you open the box. You're going to get the unit itself, which is some plastic here. It's got, it looks like about a 6-foot cord, pretty thick cord. You're going to have this tray here. Your tray has your backup battery, which is just like a little, see, looks like a lead acid battery. This one here, I believe the cable, there's one of these that's like a cable sensor that the cable has to run over, which I guess pretty much has to be this one. It's supposed to keep track of like slack in the cable or something. And then this one is actually your automatic lock. So it has this deadbolt here that shoots out the end, and that goes into the door track to keep the door from moving. You have a pair of brackets. I'm guessing these are for your sensors. These are metal. We have your eyes. They go on either side of your door. I'm gonna guess those go with these brackets. We have an extra section of wire. And we have, let's see, a door mounted opener, it looks like, with a code on it to use the app. We have one remote control, and then we have a bag with a string and a whole bunch of weird looking hardware, including these like funky copper colored nailing strips. So I have never seen anything like that. Oh, and this tumbled out the bottom. This is what connects, I believe, the output of the opener to your shaft. You have to have, my understanding is you have to have a torsion spring to be able to install these. If you're not familiar with that, like some older doors have this like really big spring that stretches back from either the ceiling or the back of the track all the way to the door, and that is what pulls the door up. Torsion springs, they mount on a rod and you twist them. I actually just twisted these. That's what these big steel bars are for. And so what you're left with is a tube that holds up the door like this. You see a tube sticking off the end of that pulley. So this opener is direct drive, it says. I don't know if that's true, if there's a chain inside of it or what, but it's going to spin this, and that's going to go on the end of that tube. And that is what's going to open the garage door, just by spinning that. The torsion spring assembly is what bears the weight. All this is spinning that rod. So it does have like a pretty decent sized motor in it, because that allows, as those springs sag over time and stuff, it's gonna still be able to pick up the door if there's a little ice on it or something like that. But anyway, the first thing we have to do is open up our manual. We have 2. I thought this was really interesting. We have an installation manual, which I want to say I really appreciate them including, because a lot of products now, they just tell you to download the manual, but they actually have an installation manual. I thought it was funny, they have a critical information. I accidentally set my ladder on that, that's why it's a little scuzzy, but You would think the critical information would be covered in the manual, but I guess they know realistically, like a lot of people, especially if they're familiar with this, they might not read the manual, so I guess they include that just so you have something to go by. There is an LED light included in this system. So grunting at me. This is your little MyQ light, which, wow, that includes a ton of extension cord. It looks like there's maybe 10 feet on here. So that should reach anywhere you have an outlet. This does have to be plugged into a 110 outlet. So I guess the way they got it is hopefully you have enough wire there to run it to the end of a door and plug it into the same outlet your opener is plugged into. It's a shame they didn't put a 10-foot outlet on this, because actually I already had these outlets up here in the ceiling for a traditional garage door opener, but I do not think those cords are going to stretch. So we're actually in the process of running a new wire so I can install some new outlets up there for our new openers. We're going to like kind of hold this up, mock it in place, and there should be a mounting bracket somewhere. It says on there. I'm supposed to figure that out. Oh, that's actually still in here. So we'll figure that out. Our mounting bracket goes on the side, and then we'll have to drill some holes into our wood so that we can mount this thing up. I'll mount this plastic on until we're a little more further along in the installation process. So it looks like from mocking this up, if you can see up here, there's very little tube extending from that pulley. I don't really want to, but it looks like the best thing to do might be, if you compare that to how much tube we have sticking out on this side, we may just want to loosen up our pulleys, loosen up our torsion spring, and slide that. I'm talking about this pipe you see right here. So yeah, we'll slide the whole thing down. Then we would have a little, that goes inside this pipe and this thing. So it'll give us a little more engagement on this and help keep it square. And really the only reason not to do it is because I'll have to take the tension off those springs. And that wasn't really that hard to set. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the tension off the springs and slide. We'll have to loosen up these pulleys on the end, and we'll just slide that pole over a little bit. That'll give us a little more room to mount our opener. All right, as you can see, we've adjusted that all the way over. We still have a pair of vice grips sitting up there. I'll grab one, I climb the ladder again. I just made the decision to move this one all the way over, where we had about 1 inch coming out of the bearing, because we have another opener going in here. It actually really makes me wonder, these doors are so well balanced with those springs, there's really nothing stopping you as far as I could tell. You could put one of these openers in the middle, line up both pipes into it if they were dead even, which these should be, and you could use one opener for 2 doors. And I have a feeling these have the power to do that. It's supposed to be a pretty powerful opener. You get what I'm saying? Like, these have the pipes come out of both sides. So you can do either left or right hand operation. So if you stuck it in the middle, it would spin both of those doors the right way. All right, so you slide this collar on. It's the same diameter, which is 1 inch, as this tube. And then it also has a larger side that slips over the collar of this. You tighten these down just like we tighten down our screws on our pulleys and our spring cones. And those bite into this pipe, and that's what transfers the power of the opener into this. They include this bracket, which honestly is kind of crappy, but if you look at the way this thing is, like, you could tighten that and turn this on, and it would honestly, the weight of this thing and it bracing against that door would probably open and close the door by itself. But they include this thing, this bracket. There's a couple holes in the side of the opener. I'm kind of surprised that that's all that holds it, so we're going to double check our instruction manual before we mount it up. But as you can see, because we slid that extra pipe out, that's actually holding this thing perfectly square. We'll get a bubble level and verify that, but it's right in line with this, which is square, and with this, which is square. So don't know what else will need to be done. People say this is really fiddly in the reviews. So I have a feeling we're about to find out why. It seems really straightforward. We're gonna tighten our set screws up here, one full turn after they're tight. And then we're going to install our bracket on the side. Thread those machine screws into the side of the housing. And we're gonna put these lag bolts into the wood frame here. Okay, those are meeting extreme resistance, so I'm guessing those are gonna be deemed tight enough. Let's see if I can get these started by hand. They recommend you put these on before you've already got the unit hanging up here, but it doesn't seem like it should be that much trouble to get that on there. There we got one in, and another one in. There we go. To move the camera here. So their next step is to release the emergency rope, detach the emergency rope, which is just this. It seems like it'll be fairly simple. I'm just a little confused as to why they want you to do it right now. It's going to attach right here to this little ring. I'm going to go ahead and tie that. All right, so we've got our rope tied. There's a lot of excess. We do a really tall door with this, but I'm not going to do that. All right, so they've got instructions on how you measure 3 inches up, and then the door lock comes with this template you stick. So this hole is 3 inches above that roller. So we're going to go ahead and measure and stick this on, and we've got 3 holes to drill. 2 5/16 holes and 1 3/4 inch hole. So because of the included guide, drilling those holes is really easy. The instructions say to put your door up. However, I just was really careful. Was easily able to do it with the door down. Depends on how your door lines up with the tracks. Also, make sure you follow up if you do drill from the outside. To take a drill bit or something or a file and deburr these, because your tracks are going to be rolling up and down over them. So I already did that. This one's got a little bit of a lip, but as you can see, we finished up. This is a 3/4 inch hole, which most people probably won't have a bit for. So these unibits or step bits, this one's a Milwaukee Irwin, also makes really good ones. They cost about 30 bucks. They're great to have around the house. They will drill through any thin plastic or sheet metal like this. This is perfect for that, and you get actually a round hole. If you've ever drilled big holes with a really big solid drill bit, you'll know you don't actually end up with a round hole, you'll end up with an oval hole. So anyway, we're gonna peel our sticker off, at least most of it. Then we're gonna hold our bolt up, and I'll show you how that works. It comes with these kind of flush screws. They're low profile, and you hold this up in place, and as you can see, that lines up with your bolt holes on the bolt and just secures it to this track. It doesn't have any sort of independent bracket or anything to mount it, because if you think it's just going in and out, so it only needs to be braced against this. All right, so as you can see, this is an electric lock, so it should be able to shift itself. We have plenty of clearance around the bolt. Keep our screws all the way in, and that's not supposed to interfere with those rollers at all. All right, guys, this funky looking thing here is the cable tension sensor, cable slack sensor. They kind of use those terms interchangeably in the manual. It looks weird, but it's basically your cable rolls over this thing, and if you listen, it clicks just a little bit. So you're supposed to screw this to the frame so that this is up over your cable, and that puts that gap in, which opens the sensor. And that way, if it ever pushed shut, you would know that you had slack in your cable, because that spring would be pushing against your cable. So they show you how to install it. Basically, they want it all the way up under that drum. And if I'm not mistaken, for our installation, because we're going to the right side of the door, we're gonna have to pop this roller off and put it on the other side. You can see it's got a little E-clip here. So we're gonna go ahead and pop that off with a pair of needle nose pliers. We're gonna reverse it on the other side, and then we'll mount that up under our drum. But basically, they want this up under your roller so that we're screwed in, and you can see this is angled out. So if we take it off of the roller, it's sitting flat this way against our wood, and you'll hear when I lift it up, hear that click. So it's gonna go up over our cable, and that's what's gonna let us know there is tension in it. I'm gonna pop these vice grips off. So our door would actually need to clear this location. So this may need to go up higher, which means we may need a block of wood or something to shim this. They recommend putting it as high as possible, and I kind of see why, because your door comes up here. So if this is here, all the way down there, you know, that looks like it's gonna clear that door just fine. And then I wouldn't need to shim it with a block of wood or anything. Oh, no, we kind of hit it there. Right at the very bottom. So we will, right? Yeah, I think we're gonna collide with that right at the very bottom of that. So if you look, I slide this up just a scooch. So we're clear here with it screwed in. And then as we slide down, yeah, we're gonna push, we're gonna hit it. Okay, so we're gonna move it up just a little bit, which means I'm gonna have to get a block of wood to put up in here. That's a pain in the butt. I have my nail gun, I have a block of wood here, and I'm just gonna toenail this in place. All right, basically I just wanted those to hold it in place. We're gonna sink some, turn out some construction screws in there. Gotta take this thing off the lowest setting for sure. These screws are so crazy grippy. To bring our driver up. Sensor. Okay, so we could actually go like all the way up here, and then we would even get that wire up above the. So there's one half of it, and here is another half. It's very securely mounted right below the drum. I don't think it can interfere with the operation of the door at all. And then our wire goes all the way up here, away from this roller. So I think that's pretty much what they were looking for. All right, so to catch up here, this is supposed to go up in here, and you can put it open and it'll stay open. However, just a word of caution, it doesn't. I had the door open and the whole door fell off Thankfully it didn't break. And we've got our plugs in here. So like all these things that we've been doing, they have to be routed up away from any moving parts. And then they plug in, and they're all kind of color coded. And that's what those staples were for. They break into individual staples so we could nail them in up here or whatever to route the wires around any moving hazards. We can cut the wires to fit, and then we're gonna put them in these little wire holders. I'm gonna guess our battery's gonna go in here, and we have to run our door lock up. It'll go in the white, but those are pretty simple. So the last thing to do is to mount the control. The last major thing anyway. It's it looks like our wire is just attached to these Phillips head screws on the back actually. So R and W, everything's color coded. Got our spool of red and white wire. So we just find an end right here. We're gonna strip that, put it underneath those wires. We'll do a little loop on the ends, what they call like a shepherd's hook, and tighten it up just like we're wiring up an outlet. And then this thing will be ready to mount. One thing I do like about this is you can mount it with a single screw right up the middle without having to like take off a cover or anything else. I really appreciate that. If you want the security of a second one, you can put one screw in down here, put your screw in, slide it down, then put that second screw in to secure it. So that's really nice. Takes all the guesswork out of like having to space these equally underneath of it or something, take a cover apart or something like that. Anyway, we'll go ahead and get this mounted. All right, so that was a pain in the butt just to kind of get in here, try and film it, but we got our wire hooked up. We got our controls in here. So this is the main button to open and close. I could have put that bottom screw a little tighter, but that's okay. This is actually nice because I'll be able to wrap it around the back of this. It's got an outlet on the side too, but I chose not to use it, whatever. So we can wrap around the back and we can put staples or whatever clips I decide to use. To run it up out of the way. This is really in the way because it hangs right over where I want to put this. I plan on just putting one of these right next to each door. That way there's no confusion over which one I'm opening. They give you like enough wire you could reach. You know, I could put them both over here if I wanted to, but I don't right now anyway. I don't know. Maybe I'll hate this, but that's how I plan on doing it. So the only thing left to do is to mount the eyes. Sounds like we've got a dog begging to get in. He's hungry for his dinner, but I want to finish this first. It's not dinner time yet anyway. Don't worry, he's well fed. That's going to be this stuff. It's interesting. It looks like these aren't even supposed to have any hardware. They just have these built-in. I noticed that before. They have built-in bolt head retainers here in these. So your bolt just goes right through here, and then that secures the head. You have wing nuts on the other side. So it should be pretty easy to hook up. Tighten these down, and aside from running our wires, these are going to be super easy because all they do, I'm not going to stand underneath that ladder to do this. I'll show you on this side. All they do is come up 6 inches off the ground. Oops. So all you do is go up 6 inches off the ground, and these literally just clip on. Wherever you want to put them. So for me, maybe down here would be the best place. So they have these little tabs on the back that just hold them in place. I did see people complaining online that these stick out too far and they would rather mount them, which if I could get it off this track, well, actually, where the screws on there, If you want to do that, you just unclip it and you can screw it into this with this, but you're probably gonna have to use a board or something, because you've got, like for these tracks, you're gonna end up with a sensor right on the edge of that. So I think that'll be okay. I don't think it's gonna get bumped into there. Maybe famous last words. But anyway, we want to take a measuring tape and measure, try and get them both exactly at the same height. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that other one. And we've got our wires here to run. I'm trying not to get them all tangled up. I have a stapler that I would prefer to use to run these wires rather than run all those little staples, but my stapler doesn't, I do not have insulated staples for it. And if you notice, these staples, the nice thing about them is they have this little green insulation on them. When I say staples, just so we're clear, like these break off. So they have this little like rubber on them to kind of insulate them, but just keeps them from shorting out. Well, I don't think that's going to be an issue. And honestly, that's not even a rubber. It's like a really crappy piece of plastic. It's just to isolate it. So anyway, we might use those. We may just use a staple gun, but I'm not going to bore you with stapling those up out of the way. Come up 6 inches off the ground. The top of our bracket right at 6 inches. And so that one's on. So those two should be aimed at each other. And if they need tuned a little bit, you can just loosen the wing nut and give them a little adjustment. All right, I'm back. I had to buy a Klein cable stapler because the one I had, they don't sell staples for anymore. It got bought out by Arrow and they pretty much discontinued them. So anyway, we got nice little insulated staples, saves lots of time. Anyway, we run our wires up so they're protected. We bundled them here and ran them up the wall. They're not perfect. This mess is all gonna be gone. But as you can see, everything's carefully routed up and over any moving pieces, so we won't get any pinch wires. Common sense, right? But gotta say it. So anyway, we have our wires where they terminate here. We run them through the bottom. It's got this little sleeve when you're wiring through. So we're gonna run this up. We're gonna strip, they say 7/16, so about a ½ inch off. And then we're gonna stick them in these, and they say to use a screwdriver to depress these when we slide our wire in. I think at least these end ones I could probably get with my fingernail. All right, so like I said earlier, this is fairly straightforward. They're all color coded. The two greens go in the green, it doesn't matter. That just completes the circuit. Red and white go in the red and white that are side by side. Black and white get twisted together like we mentioned earlier. Those are your sensors from each side. So you strip just a little bit more than you would otherwise. And then our black side's gonna go right here. Our white side's gonna go in right here. And then we just have to dispress those tabs, which I need both hands to do. All right, so we take away this little green screw. You can see our wiring all finished up. Hopefully that was pretty clear how that works. I'm not sure why this little tab, there we go, popped it back out. I think these need to be popped out to actually hold the wire correctly. So if they're not popped out, pop them back out. But anyway, green screw comes out. This whole door drops off, so don't drop it. And our battery goes in there. You'll just see two little spade connectors, insulated spade connectors. Very simple, as per usual. Black will go to black, and red will go to red. And then our little door should drop back in place here somewhere. There it goes. And our green screw goes back in. All right, our cover will go back on, but according to the instruction manual, we've checked everything. Our emergency release is out of the way. We should be ready to power the unit on, which we're gonna do by plugging it in up here in our new outlet. Go right here, looks good. There we go. Can't get any leverage up there. Okay. So our power's on. Now, in theory, this should be ready to move. We've got green lights. We've got a yellow light. So let's just come through and verify. I think that's what we need, right? Connect the power. They're glowing steadily. All right, so they're glowing steadily, so that's all right. And then we just need to do whatever we need to do to finish. Just do not run the garage door opener at this time. Okay, then we won't. So then I think, from reading stuff people said online, I think they want you to connect it to your phone. Looks like we'll have to read the manual to know how to finish setting it up. Okay. Well, everything's installed at least. I really want to be able to use it. So let's see if we can do whatever we need to do here. Which looks like program the travel and automatic force set. Alright, page 24, page 25. We've got our manual. We're on page 24. I want to get these ladders back. This down here is all extra wire. Lots and lots of extra wire. Let's get that all back. Okay, let's get this big ladder back just a little bit there. Okay. Now, let's see. Program the travel. While programming travel, up and down buttons can be used to move the door as needed. Press and hold the adjustment button until up begins to flash or a beep is heard. So it's right above these up here. Okay, good. Program the travel. Push and hold the adjustment button in the middle. Beep. Okay. Push and hold up until it's in its desired up position. We're gonna need to move this gigantic ladder. The last thing we need is just to crash the door into the ladder the second it's open. All right, anyway, push and hold this until it's all the way up. This thing's really quiet. Sounds like it's struggling. All right, well, that's all the way up, right? I think so. So, once it's in its up position, push and release the adjustment button. All right. Let me push it down until the door is in the desired down position. Push down. Watch out, bro. Got it. All right. Oh, oh, what the f just happened? Like all the slack came off of the tension rod, and the door just f***ing dropped. It's even worse because my dog was under it. Look at the tension on this cable is all f***ed up now. God, excuse my language. The cables like those are completely messed up. How did that happen? All right, I gotta figure out what went wrong. That was insane and terrifying. You might have to get the door back up so I can rewind that somehow. I don't even know what to do. I didn't even see the cable. The cable's like outside the door? What the hell? Yeah. Like our cable is all the way outside the door and this one's tight. I guess I have to let the door down to get the weight off this cable so I can fix him. And we'll have to start this over again, I guess. I think it's got to do the same thing again, though. I think I know what's going on. It won't go. It's like stuck now. Stuck with the cable wrapped around the pulleys, cable wrapped around the door. Look at this. It's like the cable goes up off the pulley, down around this, so like it won't turn either way. It's just jammed. And it's just one side, like at least one side would be partially supporting the door, but this one's the same way. All right, I'm gonna see if I can work on this and get, oh, I guess I'm gonna take some of the weight off of those cables somehow to get them unplugged. Maybe I can put a jack in here or something and put a board underneath the door to support the weight. Something like that. This is where we are. I was able to support the door and lift up on it slightly and get this stool shoved underneath of it. Then I was able to work enough slack by spinning the, like grabbing the cable and kind of making a little slack in it to get it off of those drums. You see this is the end that's supposed to go in the drum. This is where the cable's all kinked from popping out of that drum. So the only thing I can think of is these are brand new springs. So, you know, when I was putting that door up manually, like I had to kind of grab it and like pull down hard to get it started. So the opener is just spinning that drum. So it still needs the door to pull down on the opener. If that makes sense. So by just powering down on the opener without like manually pulling down the door, we were just uncoiling. We were spinning the pulley, but the door was staying stationary, so there was no tension on that cable. Which that's the entire point of that slack sensor that we installed up there, is to detect as soon as that happens and shut the motor off. And it clearly didn't happen. I don't know if that doesn't happen in learning mode or what. There's no warning of that in the manual. It's pretty crazy to me. Like somebody was underneath that door or something. You know, like here, program the travel. There's warnings in here that you don't want to incorrectly adjust it. It's beeping at me. I don't know what that means. Test the door after adjustments. There's nothing in here that says, hey, your door might fall and kill you. That is crazy. Yeah, it's going to show me an error because we never set that. All right. Now it's messed up. So I don't know. That won't work at all. I've got blinking lights. I have no idea what to do. Because I guess since these are coupled, I could set it back in adjustment mode and use the opener to unwind the springs. Right? Like that should work. So with the door down, we should just have enough spring to fit into that pulley. So we can completely unwind the springs with the opener. Then we could wind it back, and we could wind it like 8 or 9 turns, because now obviously 9.5 is too much. Then we could reconnect our cable to it. I guess that's what we'll try and do. I'm gonna have to find a way to reset it though, because it's in some kind of error mode now. And we have to hold that tension lever up to get it to operate. So I don't know why it wasn't working before. Obviously there wasn't tension and it failed to stop it, but now we should be able to wind this the other way, I guess. So, not wanting to go. That's weird. Oh, because I don't have that thing held down. Okay. Okay, I need to grab an adjustment bar. I can slide in that. That one's in the slot. Same. This one. Alright, that one's in there. So those are both in there now. Try this again. Alright, so according to this, when it's set, it should just flash the lights twice, but instead it beeped at me a whole lot. So it's clearly not happy. I don't know why. And it looks like the track is too narrow at the back. It's kind of hanging up. I think that may be one of the reasons. It's not wanting to start down. I'm not sure what else is going on with this, but Alright, it's freaking out again. What? God. Like, what are you doing? Whoa, whoa, whoa! What the f? Now the f***ing cables are all messed up again. The manual for this thing, super crappy. Not in the slightest bit impressed. All right, let's try this again. It looks really upset here. I don't know what I've done. It's got this button that says step saver set up. Not in the manual anywhere what that does. Isn't that wild? The button there, step saver setup TM. Nowhere on this unit or in the manual does it say what a step saver button does. You could, while it's down, you could tuck that underneath that stupid cable setting tension thing. Alright, let's try this again. Alright, we got a beep. We got loud bangs. That's just the carriage going back in. So let's see if, just for tonight, if we run this thing up, and as we start getting up towards the top, we just stop. And we call that the top. We're still not going down. God, like, what is going on with this thing? All right. I'm guessing it's just because these tension springs are brand new. I don't know how many turns to take off. I don't know if everything on the track is moving the way it's supposed to. It seems like it's moving smoothly when I do it manually. Now we're back to crazy town. Why? Don't do what? All right, stop. Stop this. This is madness. Let's set that as the top. Got lots of weight on the door. What? What? All right, I'm losing my cool. I'm done with this thing for the night. I just want to stay down. It won't stay down. What is it doing? Like, what is it doing? So now we're back to this where it just ignores all input. There's no point in me working on this anymore tonight. I am beyond frustrated. Is it because the leg of the ladder was in that beam? No, go away, Bear. The dog is trying to comfort me because he hears me ready to kill people. But this is a terrible system. So I got really frustrated, and the issue mainly was that the system needs to cycle after you set the travel limits. And I had the travel limit set too high. You just can't use the full height of the garage opening. Another issue was that the rear of the tracks was level, and with this style opener, it needs gravity on the openers. So I eventually realized that and raised them up a notch, and finally got them at least sort of working. Here's some other things I tried. They are opening and closing. I think the springs have kind of broken in a little bit. They're super quiet with these wall mount openers. So that unit moves a little, that's normal. And I'll show you this one here. This one here doesn't always close the first try, and I'll show you why as these open up. So this one here still has a little bit of panel hanging down. But if you have them set to use your full width of your opening, like these are, you can see how this one's all the way up and this one's not. So I don't know if these are considered like low overhead frames or what, but it would be better for me if the whole frame was up a little bit. But of course we don't have a ton of room for that anyway. But anyway, at some point I may adjust this one to be down just a little bit, and I think I can still go a little higher with this one so that they open evenly, but it's really not a big deal. It's not like they're both going to be open fairly often. So you'll see if I hit this one to close, sometimes it'll slack that cable just enough that you'll have to hit it a second time to get it to close, because the slack sensor will stop it from closing. But we got the ropes on it just in case I need to do any more adjustments to them and stuff, just so I can move them manually. So it turns out they're a pain to move without it. And the only other thing I might change is, if you remember, they both came with these struts. And the instructions said these could be installed at the top if you're going to use them with these door opener mounts. But we're not. And these are actually, they're not heavy, but I may eventually just add these across this, and that'll give it some more weight to help it pull the doors down. So I may add those, I may not. All right, guys, it's been a little while since I installed these doors. I still haven't finished the video, so I'm going to go ahead and add this little bit. I had talked about maybe not needing these LED lights, the MyQ LED Wi-Fi lights that accompany these openers. Turns out you do need them if you want to use the app. I have this app called MyQ on my phone. It's like right here. It'll tell you your bay lights turned on, your doors closed, doors open, all that stuff. So here you get these error messages. So if you don't have a light connected to each opener, it will not let you open. Sorry, it won't let you close the doors. It'll let you open them via app, but not close them. So we ended up using our plugs that we originally put in the ceiling for the garage door openers that we didn't use. If you remember, I had to relocate them up there for the wall mount openers, but just had enough cord to plug these in, stretch the cord down, and screw them into these bracing for the trusses. So they are just below the doors, and when you open your door, you can see those click on. As long as the shop lights are on, you really don't need them, or they do give you just a little bit of light underneath the door. But as you can see, if you flip off the shop lights, it is nice just to have that little bit of light that these do give you. You know, like I said, this is an aluminum foil face insulation shop, so those go a long way towards lighting it up at night. Wasn't something I really felt like I needed, but it was necessary to make the app work. So I just wanted to update that was necessary. I was wrong about that, and they're now installed, and I am able to open and close these doors remotely, as long as they come down, which I still think I'm going to raise them up another couple notches on these back hangers. That's all being reinforced by now. I put a cord rail up there, but I think we're going to bring the back of them up at some point. Another hole, maybe 2 holes if I can fit it where that bracing is. But other than that, they've been problem free. As you can, the same issue is still kind of happening where we'll push the button and they'll go slack, and you'll have to push it again to get it to come down. If you're in the garage, it's no big deal, just hit it twice. If you're on the app, it gives you an error code and it will not let you close the door again until you're here to push the button. As far as I can tell, I can't clear that error on the app. So that makes me leery about opening and closing them too much if I'm not physically here, because you could open them and then you can't close them again. So yeah, so they're both gonna work fine when we're on the video. And 99% of the time, yeah, the dogs will run in front of the beam. That should have tripped that beam and sent that open again, but I guess it was short enough that it didn't. That's kind of crazy. It usually doesn't take much to trip them. And then I also had to readjust these. They were closing so tightly that if you closed even one of these pieces of carpet or an extension cord in the door, it would trip them. So I just had to reset them to be like a 1/4 of an inch higher than they were. And that took care of that problem. So anyway, that's it. That's just a little addendum. So they've been super nice to have. As you can tell, they're super quiet. We've had some really cold days, and having those insulated garage doors in has been fantastic. It's relatively quiet in here now that we have all of our insulation up. So overall, just a really nice space to work. And a lot of that is because of those doors and those openers. We've got all this overhead space if we want to bring stuff in here, and I am planning on purchasing a lift because that would just be super useful for all the projects I have lined up. So we'll make full use of that overhead space. All right, guys, see you guys on the next video.